Hello, and welcome to this lesson where we will be discussing the concepts of crawl efficacy, crawl budget, and crawl budget rank. So generally, crawl efficacy refers to the ease with which search engines can discover, navigate, and index pages on a website. And it is only content that search engines have discovered and indexed that can be surfaced for search queries. So it is in that sense that understanding crawl efficacy, especially from a competitive standpoint, is important in the SEO practice. So when a site is not crawl efficient, it is going to lag behind its competitors. And that will also result in lower rankings, lower traffic, and generally poor website performance. So there are some barriers to crawl efficacy, and they exist on the technical level, on the content level, and on the external level. So on the technical level, a site can be said to be not very crawl friendly when it has an internal site architecture that is incoherent. So when the internal site structure doesn't have any logical order to it, especially as it relates to the internal linking between semantically related sections of the site. So when a site has a poor internal structure, that can contribute to low crawl efficacy. When there are broken links that cause disconnects or the loss of a connection between sections of a website that reinforce each other's topical authority, that could also contribute to low crawl efficacy. When the robots.txt file is not correctly configured, thus blocking important pages from being crawled, that can also contribute to low crawl efficacy. And when there are redirect chains and redirect loops that unnecessarily waste crawler resources, that could also contribute on a technical level to low crawl efficacy. On the content level, issues of thin contents and duplicate content also make a site less crawl efficient, because the crawler is expending resources to crawl, but the content it is finding cannot justify the resources that have been expended, because the content is thin, the content is not original, the content is not unique. And also issues with non-HTML content, right? When you have Flash, non-HTML formats, or content embedded in JavaScript, this also makes a site difficult to crawl. It makes it very difficult to pass after a crawl has taken place. All of this contributes to incidences of low crawl effectiveness. And external factors are issues relating to server performance and the ease of site discoverability within the larger web. So a site that is connected to a larger number of pages is easier to crawl because it is easier to find, right? It means that even if the crawler is moving randomly through the web, if a site has lots of links pointing to it from many other sites, the probability of a random crawler finding that site becomes higher, right? And that could also increase crawl efficacy and crawl effectiveness, because the discoverability of the website is a lot higher. So those are some of the external factors that contribute to crawl effectiveness. Then server performance. When the site is being crawled, how does the server respond? How does the server react to the crawl demand? When the server doesn't react properly to crawl demand, when the server begins to have glitches in its performance, that could also limit crawler activity and contribute to low crawl effectiveness. But there is a related concept called crawl budget rank. So basically, all websites have a crawl budget allocation because crawl resources are not infinite. So search engines assign a crawl budget rank to websites, and that rank is indicative of the prioritization and the allocation of crawler resources, indexing resources to that website. So there is a method to the allocation of crawl budgets. There is the analysis of crawl demand and the crawl rate limits. When the crawl demand is high, that means this is a website that is constantly pushing out new content that is of value, original content, and this is a website that experiences lots of traffic, which is placing demand on its content from various client devices like mobile phones and laptops. If that is the case, search engines can detect that and that can influence their crawl budget allocation. Then the crawl rate limit refers to the maximum number of simultaneous connections that can be made to that server without a noticeable dip in the server performance. And so when search engines begin to crawl the website and the server begins to experience glitches, that would indicate that the crawl rate limit is already being reached. And the lower the crawl rate limit, the lower the crawl budget allocation. The higher the crawl rate limit, the higher the crawl budget allocation, all things being equal. So these are the two considerations that influence the allocation of crawl budget to a website. So when we want to talk about improving crawl efficacy and improving crawl budget allocations, we have to also address these on a technical, on the content level. On the technical level, we can always increase crawl efficacy by improving a site's internal structure, right? Usually ensuring a logical and flat site structure, and fixing broken links, proper use of robots.txt directives, and minimizing redirects or chains and loops that derive from redirects. All of these can improve a site's crawl efficacy from a technical standpoint. On the content side of things, ensuring that we create valuable content, ensuring that we have a short cycle between content creation and content updating. All of these, having a regular content upload schedule, all of these can improve crawl efficacy, and ensuring that content is not duplicated and optimizing load times. That is optimizing core web vitals metrics. These are on the content side of things. These are initiatives that can improve crawl efficacy. Then we could also improve crawl efficacy by ensuring that we conduct regular audits so that whenever there are issues that are found, they are fixed in a timely manner and did not persist and begin to influence the search engine perception of that website. So in the next lesson, I'm going to be showing you how to use a Python script to calculate your site's crawl efficacy in a statistically or in a mathematically viable way, right? Usually crawl efficacy is determined by the time lapse between the last modification date of a page or URL and the last crawl date. So we're going to calculate the last modification date for all of the pages on the website using a Python script. We're also going to calculate the last crawl date, and based on the difference, we can actually analyze on a page by page level what the crawl efficacy and efficiency looks like across that website. So see you in the next lesson.